Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Seraphin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name. Familiar with the name. Familiar with the name.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public. We're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
He's the host of something that strangely is called the Kyle Seraphin Show.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Wednesday. It is June the 5th, and we are rolling live right now on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. I'm at about 80% power today, y'all. I saw the chat, a little bit worried about that. There's the link, rumble.com. Join us over there if you want to support the program. And as I saw, probably the wittiest comment of the morning so far, coming from one of our monthly supporters, Jigsaw Massacre, said, you know, having the Kyle Seraphin Show without you is just not the same. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, y'all. It's good to be back in the saddle just a little bit. Yeah, still got the sore throat. I got to tell you this. I don't ever remember summertime flus. Was that a thing before COVID? Before they released a bioweapon and tried to kill us all? Is that something that used to happen? I'm drinking tea. I haven't touched coffee in 6 days. I've been laying on my back, just trying to get myself back into space. There's nothing worse than having a throat infection when you use your throat to make a living. Take that however you want. That's fine. You guys, run with it. It's early on a weird Wednesday. We're going to be talking about vindication today. We're going to be talking about my friend Marcus Allen. Got some inside scoop on that. Not going to reveal too much. He's got a lot more in the works, and I think that will be good news as well. But let's just say it's a vindication day. We're going to go back over the so-called whistleblower situations. You guys remember that. We're just a year out from that. It was May 18th of 2023 when Garrett O'Boyle, Marcus Allen, Steve Friend, Tristan Levitt all got up in front of the Weaponization Committee, and then they were berated, and they were called liars, and there were false statements being made by trust fund babies like Dan Goldman. And all of that is to say, if you're patient and you run the race, Marcus Allen's the first domino to fall. We hope the first of many, so we'll cover that in one moment. Before we do, let's just say thanks to my buddies at Patriot Coolers. We had a really good month last month with you guys choosing PatriotCoolers.com using the promo code KYLE. Again, Patriot Coolers, spell it all out, S on the end, PatriotCoolers.com. The promo code is Kyle, saves you 10%. It's the same as you save if you're a veteran. However, if you use the Kyle Seraphin promo, then they know that we sent you, which we really appreciate. And you can get yourself a very handsome tumbler, like the one I am sporting right here with Suspendables logos. It doesn't cost you any additional to use our logos. That's what we're there for. We've got the last line Substack on the top of this one, showing the rifle, showing the pen. It's mightier than the sword, except when the sword maybe is mightier than the pen. Hopefully we won't get there in this calendar year. And then also the Suspendables Betsy Ross flag with the badge. You guys can get all that at PatriotCoolers.com, promo code Kyle. I've got one now with the 16-ounce mug. I've got one with a 19-ounce coffee mug. You can get it with the tumblers in 20 or 30. Really great products. Garrett just told me he wants to throw his Yeti away. He feels embarrassed to do it, but he said it's a superior product. It is a superior product. Enjoy them, guys. All right, let's get started. Let's get going right away. There it is. Oh, do you remember Representative Sanchez? That dummy who decided to wear the bright green. She's like a hazard symbol, isn't she? She's like a woman wearing a traffic vest that didn't fit. FBI agents whose allegiance to the United States was questioned over the Capitol riot claims regains his security clearance. Uh-oh. There it is. It starts just right like that. This is being written on the New York Post, although it was covered in other articles yesterday. I got to find my cursor here. There we go. FBI agent He was punished for harboring so-called conspiratorial views about January 6, 2021. The Capitol riot has regained his security clearance as part of a settlement with the FBI. He won 27 months of back pay that he lost while on ICE, according to a whistleblower nonprofit that has represented him. Marcus Allen was a staff operations specialist. That is like an embedded tactical analyst, somebody who does real work on behalf of the squad that goes out there and finds out background on the people that you're going to go interview and gives you sort of in the moment information. The other intelligence analysts try to do these more like analytical thought pieces. They basically write college term papers for a living. Marcus was one of the guys that actually contributed to the squad. I really appreciated my SOS when I had one. And he lost his top secret clearance. Oh, just like all the other suspendables. Over security clearance that goes back to January of 2022. Marcus's story dances in and around the same timeline as my own. I was first kicked out of the office in November of 2021. I stopped getting paid in January of 22, just like him. I had a 6-week period where I went back. He did not have that 6-week period, and then I was suspended again. And of course, he was suspended throughout. He was just vindicated. Empower Oversight President Tristan Levitt, who actually had testified with him, said that the Inspector General has formally withdrawn retaliation complaints on their behalf, which is not what makes a lot of sense to me. Apparently, there was an advisory memo that was sent over. Merrick Garland commented under oath, and he's not a very good liar, is he, folks? Merrick Garland. He always sounds like a crying old lady. So what we know from the inside is that Marcus is in good spirits. He's now able to accept the money that we collected on his behalf, which we're going to start dispersing. I'm not going to publicize it lest we have more Sheila Jackson Lee blown up checks. I don't need any of that kind of hassle in my life. But we're going to get this guy back on his feet, and he survived. It's not all that common that you get to go up against the Bureau and come out with your sanity and with your family intact. Marcus's family did it. They did it through a lot of prayer. We're going to be talking about that in a moment, too. This is Pride Month, obviously. And so the answer is prayer, humility, the rosary, perhaps, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which we have got a little video of a flag being raised that is pretty flippin' epic that my friends at Catholic Vote tweeted out the other day. The fun thing is, good does win eventually. It may not be on this earth, but if you're an evil, ugly, nasty human being through your whole life, even if you make it until you die, that doesn't mean I have to think that you're something else. We always do this weird thing in America, right? Where like somebody who's a horrible, rotten human being, and then they die, and then everybody comes out and says nice things about them. I'm not going to do that. I don't have any intention in doing that. Sheila Jackson Lee attacked me and these guys simply because they told the truth, which has been vindicated. And now she has cancer. Oh, well. I say a little bit of good riddance there. I've got this kind of throwback to the testimony of May 18th. This is just over a year old. I want you to remember that this guy basically has held his tongue. This guy being Marcus Allen. He held his tongue for over a year, and he was treated like this by these absolute buffoons, the complete morons. And then we're going to show you a parallel because Dr. Fauci was attacked a little bit while he was under oath. And instead of having pieces that glorify, the Congress people, they literally defended Dr. Fauci in the LA Times. So we're going to get there in a second too. Let's start with this little clip from Representative Garcia, maybe one of the dumbest moments in Congress that I've seen.
Mr. Allen, have you ever used Twitter? Yes or no?
I have utilized Twitter, yes.
Okay, and is your account at Marcus A970-50645?
That is absolutely not my account.
Okay, that's not your account. Well, on December 5th, 2022, an account under the name Marcus Allen retweeted a tweet that said,
That is not my account, ma'am.
Hold on. Can we just agree? There's something really funny when she says, okay, that's not your account. Well, and then she just skips right on out because that was way too much for her to process. Here she continues with the same piece.
Mr. Allen, have you ever used Twitter? Yes or no? Did a tweet that said,
That is not my account, ma'am.
You haven't let me finish the question,
Might
sir.
have been the football player.
You haven't let me finish the question. And the time is mine. On December 5th, 2022, an account under the name of Marcus Allen retweeted a tweet that said, quote, Nancy Pelosi staged January 6th, retweet if you agree, end quote. Do you agree with that statement? Yes or no?
That is, I don't, no ma'am, that's not my account at all. I have
I'm
no
asking
idea.
whether you agree with that statement, yes or no?
Can you please rephrase the
Yeah.
statement?
Do you think
Sorry, not Garcia. Garcia is the homosexual congressman from California who defended Fauci. That was Sanchez, who was wearing the traffic vest and is borderline, dare we say retarded? That was a pretty retarded moment, was it not? She simply showed somebody else's tweet from somebody else's Twitter account that had the same name, Marcus Allen. I can think of 4 Marcus Allens off the top of my head. You can as well. Good Lord. Good Lord. And that didn't make the daily news. That wasn't the cycle. Instead, what happened was we have so-called whistleblowers. I want to give you guys the taste. This happened in 2023. This was one of those really good little montage mix-up. Do you remember the difference between how Ciaramella and the whistleblowers that went after Donald Trump, how they got lionized, how they were great, and if you attack them, then you were possibly even breaking the law? But if you thought that my friends are so-called whistleblowers, that I am a so-called whistleblower, well, then you're just squared away. You're just reading between the lines, aren't you? Let's give this a little taste, because this is the broken whistle. This is what happens when we have massively weaponized and partisan media attacking not the message, because they can't. They just go after the messenger.
The attack on the whistleblower is never wise. It's never lawful. It's never honorable. It's everything you said. It's a travesty. And I'm not going to call them whistleblowers.
They don't deserve whistleblower protection. Each and every one of them has a strange history, has, guess what, Russian connections.
They always do.
These are not, as we would consider them, whistleblowers, people who are alleging wrongdoing.
They weren't really whistleblowers at all. In fact, they weren't even credible witnesses.
2 or 3 people who are political operatives, but they're not whistleblowers. These guys are not whistleblowers, period.
Is a hardworking, patriotic person in the intelligence community who just wants to put the information out there.
The president to call into question the credibility of this whistleblower. They're referring to this whistleblower as the so-called whistleblower.
So-called whistleblower on the Biden family.
Welcome back to so-called whistleblower. From the so-called whistleblowers.
See, so-called whistleblowers. So-called whistleblowers.
So-called whistleblowers.
So-called whistleblower.
So-called whistleblower.
So-called whistleblowers.
Whistleblowers, that's what he's calling them.
Whistleblower. Quote-unquote, whistleblowers.
They're alleged IRS whistleblower.
The GOP is marketing as whistleblowers.
Quote-unquote whistleblowers.
Jim Jordan, who's the chair of the Oversight Committee, is lauding them as brave Americans.
Whistleblower, a true patriot coming forward with the allegations.
But that's why the whistleblower is a hero in many ways.
This whistleblower is a hero.
The whistleblower is a public servant.
And now,
to stay anonymous.
The heroism is being kind of thrust on this person.
We can't imply this person is partisan.
The person has been deemed credible and a patriot.
Great courage to do the right thing.
The whistleblower did was really patriotic.
This whistleblower was not alone spiritually.
The best composed, best written, best documented such complaint I've ever seen.
Thank you, whistleblower. I consider your complaint to be credible and urgent.
Do what Donald Trump was doing in going after or targeting the people who helped this.
Oh, they can't help themselves. These clowns. It's always important to have these mashups. I think that was Grabian. Yeah, right? The so-called whistleblowers, whenever the message does not favor us. Good Lord. Just the dumbest human beings. The spiritual aspects thrust into a heroic role. These people are what propaganda looks like. By the way, you should see what it looks like on the left and the right, because they exist on both sides, people. Remember, when somebody is feeding you a complete line of BS that you want to hear, you're partaking in it as well. I just want you guys to be skeptics out there. You've got to be. You can be skeptical of what Marcus said. Then you can see that he had to be reinstated and that the FBI had to eat crow. And I think we're all going to end up paying Marcus a lot more than that, which is fine. For whatever it's worth, whenever you're hearing exactly the things that you like to hear, that's the time to start asking those questions. Oh, is it time for this?
Già troppa frociaggine.
There is far too much fropacini. I can't pronounce that to save my life today with my throat as it is. All right, let's get into some of the other stupidity, right? So from bad treatment of our whistleblowers, how about the very, very fair legal and court system that we have? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to know, oh, there it is, Hunter Biden and his ex-wife and his family members are expected to take the stand for his gun trial. What on earth did you think? Yeah, now some of you guys knew this, that Hunter Biden is being tried over some gun charges. I'm kind of okay with him being acquitted of all of them. I'm kind of okay with a hung jury. I'm okay with any of this. And you want to know why? The reason why is because let's continue to illustrate the two-tier. They're actually trotting this out. The fact that he is on trial for this, they being the political left. There's an MSNBC commentary right now that's on the front page. And it states, listen, we know that there is, in fact, no two-tiered system of justice because Hunter Biden is facing his wrongdoing in court, just like Donald Trump. Oh, is he? We've got 6 jurors there that either have a personal experience or recovery from some sort of substance abuse. 6 of the 12. One of the jurors is apparently a former Secret Service employee who is married to a current Secret Service employee. Does that sound like the kind of jury that's going to be not sympathetic to this man? I hope he gets off with all of them. I honestly do. Who cares? Do you want to know how I know that we have a two-tiered system of justice? Because Hunter Biden is fighting this in court. Do you guys even understand how stupid this case is? It's one of the dumbest things I can imagine. All right, so this is coming from Wilmington, Delaware. The federal prosecutors in the Hunter Biden gun trial have spent hours showing the jury evidence of his gun problem. Correction, his drug problem. Seeking to reveal, through his own words and writing, the depth of his addiction to show that he was still on drugs when they say that he lied on a form to buy a firearm. Do you guys get it? The FBI background check that you fill out is called the 4473. It's an ATF form. You send it off. It goes to NCIC, I believe. It goes to somebody in West Virginia. And the entirety of the 4473 is a federal document that you are not allowed to lie on. They ask you a bunch of yes and no questions. One of them is, are you currently a fugitive from justice? If you are a fugitive from justice, you are a prohibited person and you are not allowed to own a gun. Now, if you're a fugitive from justice and it hasn't been updated yet and you say no, and they find out that in fact you were when you got that gun, then you've lied on the federal form and now you're an unlawful person. You're a felon in possession, or you're a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. Hunter Biden lied about drugs, either in his book and his entire life experience, or on a federal form. There's only 2 ways this can work. It's really cut and dry. He got a lot of money for writing a book where he said exactly this. This was in his memoir. Apparently it was called If We Break. Who knew? Testimony. It's going to be continuing today. Hunter Biden's wife, Kathleen Boulay, who is a very classy lady. She was married to Hunter Biden for roughly 20 years. They have 3 children. They divorced in 2016 after his infidelity with hookers and his drug problems became too much. Sorry, she wrote a book called If We Break about the dissolution of their marriage. And she's going to be testifying. And we're going to have this very personal and detailed tour of Hunter Biden's mistakes and drug usage. This is, of course, the AP trying to cover for a man who should never have taken this thing to court. It's cut and dry. It's paper. Do you guys know what the defense argument is in this case, by the way? Because you're thinking, okay, well, he said he was on drugs. He got the gun. He filled out the form. What's even up to negotiate? What's up to negotiate is apparently He had this document held by the gun store, and the gun store clerk added some additional text after the fact, as is the case whenever they get information that comes in. So their argument is that maybe Hunter Biden didn't actually fill out the entirety of the form. Maybe the gun store clerk actually filled out the form. But the funny thing is this: you can't get the gun unless you filled out the form. No gun store does that anywhere. They'll lose their FFL. This is a nonsensical case. I hope he gets off. I 100% hope he gets off. There is no reason for us to not wish that. It's not going to be about whether or not there is another person held accountable. What it's going to show is perfectly the two-tiered system of justice. You should also be wanting that. I'm just saying. And the idea that he even brought this into a courtroom is quite silly. But that's okay. You've got Fox News covering it as well. Trey Gowdy giving his little pieces on it. Everybody like acting like this is a real trial. This is not a real trial, people. This is not how it works. This is nonsense. Nobody takes this to court. You plea out on this charge. Unless you're Hunter Biden and you're told that you have to go and prove that Donald Trump got a fair shake. I know Donald Trump got a fair shake because he was investigated by the FBI. You remember the FBI, my friends over there? These guys? There's more of it. We have two armed federal agents carrying firearms and badges that are walking with gay pride flags in that little clip that you just saw. I know it's been all over the place on social media. In fact, I'm sure you've seen it. Even I saw it while I was laying on my back being sick. What on earth are we doing? I cannot fathom being able to be... I've never seen the FBI involved in a parade. Have you? Think of any parade you've ever seen the FBI in, except a gay pride parade. How's that possible? It's probably the same reason why there's a gay pride flag on the wall of the FBI's Human Resource Department at the Hoover Building, but not an American flag. That's how captured these agencies are. That's, by the way, I have to imagine why Marcus Allen resigned after getting his victory. Why he said, no, I'm not going to be part of this organization. They're celebrating gay pride and they will just wait to stab me in the back. So he's out, if you guys didn't catch that. And in the meantime, you've got a bureau that theoretically was supposed to go after Hunter Biden. This should be a non-entity. And yet, they're actually contesting it. There's an FBI agent that was testifying yesterday talking about, like, this is the evidence we have. Here's his text messages. Here's his book where he says it himself. So take that for what it's worth. And here's a statement saying that he wasn't doing the thing that he was doing when he bought this Colt revolver. Just, it's such a strange time to be watching all of these things and hearing people act like there's some sort of balanced system. In the meantime, I wanted to play you two little things of my favorite liars. One of them is Merrick Garland, and he has an effeminate voice. And the other is James Comey, and he also has an effeminate voice for some reason. They both are basically trying to tell you that even though they've been caught breaking the law, and that's why they had to, like, you think the FBI rolled over on Marcus Allen after 2 years because there was a lot of public pressure? I don't think there was any. I think that it was overwhelming, and the Inspector General has pushed it down. So you've got Merrick Garland making the argument that they don't lie, and then you've got Jim Comey talking about how Trump is begging for prison. Both people associated with DOJ. This is a captured organization. That's how you end up with armed federal agents marching around with their guns, with their badges, waving gay pride flags in West Hollywood. That's the only way that happens. You have a captured organization. We keep telling you there's evidence over and over again, and your friends on the political left, if they think this is normal, ask them to tell you a time they've ever seen the FBI in any parade. Forget pride, just any. Because it doesn't happen. It's not part of your normal duties. Anyway, Merrick Garland here, perjuring himself? Question mark?
Retaliation against whistleblowers is against the law, and it will be punished.
3 people who've come and talked to this committee as whistleblowers have had their security clearance taken. Marcus Allen gets his security clearance put back in place today. And the Inspector General says he's got concerns, doing an investigation as we speak about what's going on.
I'm sorry, the management memo that you're talking about does not conclude there was any retaliation against
No,
anybody.
he's putting you on notice that he's investigating.
Mr. Chairman, regular order.
They go on and talk about this again, as I said. People that have no problem lying in public and under oath, those are the ones that are running our country right now. They have some pretty incredible powers. And it's pretty nauseating. And how about the people that were involved in spying on a former president that weaponized our legal system and our law enforcement? Are they locked up? Have they faced any punishment? No. They're giving commentary on CNN to a woman who barely can hold her grin back. Look at these facial expressions. It's always worth seeing the faces. And this one is no different. I cannot tell you how smug Jim Comey is. He believes everything he's saying. Having sat in front of, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so speeches, I've got maybe 10 plus hours of listening to Jim Comey. Jim Comey believes him some Jim Comey. And you should love yourself the way that Jim Comey loves himself if you want to see what real pride looks like in honor of Pride Month. Here they are. And listen, the reason why he's doing this, they are normalizing it for the people on the left. They're basically saying that, normally speaking, we wouldn't have put Trump in jail, but Trump's actions require that Trump go to jail. If you listen to this very closely, you can see they are trying to set this up. If you don't think that prison is on the docket and that it is being aggressively argued, they're dropping the veil when they do this stuff. And Jim Comey is one of the messengers of it.
Donald Trump, since, I've last seen you on CNN, has now become the first former president to become a convicted felon. You predicted before the verdict came down, as the jury was still deliberating, as the case was still being presented, that he could potentially be convicted. Do you believe it's likely that the judge will sentence him to jail in this situation?
I don't know. I would ordinarily say it's unlikely in a white-collar offense of this sort, but this is a defendant who's begging for a jail term by taking a flamethrower not just to the judge, but to the entire process and the jury. A judge will take that very seriously into consideration in deciding whether to deter this person and to send a message more broadly. He needs to spend some time behind bars.
You think Judge Merchan should take everything he said, he has called Judge Merchan a tyrant. He likened him to the devil. Every day before he walked into that courtroom, he said he was corrupt, baselessly. Do you think the judge will take that into consideration when he does sentence him in a few weeks?
I do, as well as him having to find that the defendant had acted in contempt of the court's orders on multiple occasions. All of that will be part of the picture that the judge looks at to decide whether a message needs to be sent that involves jail.
You're hearing the former director of the FBI, someone who supposedly was impartial. That was his claim, that they did things in the right way. We know that's not true. And he's making the argument that because Donald Trump, using free speech in the middle of a political campaign, hurt the feelings of the judge should take it out personally on the defendant, on the convicted. Is that the system that we're going to live in here? What if people are offended by the idea that a former president's son can run around and buy guns while he's on drugs and can use illicit drugs and engage in prostitution and collect money from foreign sources, and nobody seems to understand, and have other people pay his tax bills? Is that the country that we're living in? Because this is really banana republic stuff. This stuff kicked off in August of 22 in a bad way. It broke in a way that was never going to be repaired when the folks that got promoted by James Comey, when those people executed a raid down at Mar-a-Lago, they changed this country. And these are all the natural outgrowths. We're having show trials. We're having show trials that are trying to cover up the other show trials. And that's what you're seeing. It's quite incredible. Does that mean that you're going to get any fair takes anywhere? No, you're not. Look at this. I got this one too. This is from a presidential historian. I'm telling you, people on the political left have tried to normalize that this is okay because Trump is very, very bad. And he's very, very dangerous. And so they say things that are facts, not in evidence, not even evidenced by previous behavior. This is a guy, I've seen him trotted out a few times. He loves the dictator line. I don't even know this dude's name, but he's a presidential historian is what they call him, which I guess means he writes books about presidents. But he also just operates in a fantasy world. MSNBC always giving us the far left insanity look. I want you guys to take a little taste of this. When I'm showing you this, I'm telling you that they are prepping their audience to defend putting the man in jail. There's no question in my mind that that's what's coming up next.
Instead, you and I saw that rant at the bottom of the brass elevator in Trump Tower yesterday by the presumed Republican nominee of this year. And he's saying the system is rotten. I want to dismantle parts of the Constitution. I think that people should not respect the law. And so when you've got someone who is promising at the same time to be dictator for a day, and it'll never be for a day, as you know, it'll be for 4 years, if not for his lifetime, if that begins. At the same time as he's saying, I'm going to dismantle our rule of law, which is the glory of America, keeps the peace, assures fairness when it works for all Americans. You've got dictatorship and anarchy at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Nope, none of that. Listen, the glory of America is the people of America who should be a good and just and righteous people. If you guys want to support my friends over at Catholic Vote, you can do so at catholicvote.org. They actually have a plan to get out votes. There's a huge number of Catholics that do not vote, it turns out, even though they agree with us on almost all the things when it comes to guns, when it comes to God, when it comes to, babies in the womb. And if you want to help them move the campaign, they're 100% endorsing Donald Trump. So you have that in your favor. You can follow them on social media at Catholic Vote. But if you want to actually get involved, they've got plans in your area on how to actually do poll watching and babysitting and helping people get to the polls that are ideologically aligned. You're not going to convince other people in this country that already hate Donald Trump to change their mind. That seems pretty unlikely. And why would you waste your efforts there when there are people who already agree with you? They're just not voting. That's how you have to get this thing done if you're going to do it. Whether we're going to have an election or not, you know that I have kind of my reservations about it as well. But if you guys want to get anything moved forward, you got to go check out my friends at Catholic Vote. They're doing great stuff. And then also, I think we actually got a little slideshow here. Check this out. We're doing this neat little piece on Rumble. And you guys can follow over there. You can see that they started off a channel and then I had to teach them how to redo it. So now they've got it. It's rumble.com/Catholic Vote. All of our new little podcasts are posted up there. It's called Between the Lines. The most recent one is out there talking about Memorial Day. We've got another one that's going to be coming up in honor of D-Day that will be coming out on Thursday, so tomorrow. And check them out. Make sure you guys bookmark. It's rumble.com/Catholic Vote. You can find them if you're watching on YouTube. It's rumble.com/Catholic Vote there, or it's youtube.com Catholic Vote. All those. It's a good channel. It's got some solid stuff on there, and they're doing a really nice work with the editing, which I can't do. I don't have the time for, or the patience. What I do have patience for is this. I always have patience for when our military, and particularly the elite groups, decide to show us what the results of DEI look like. We're in the middle of Pride Month. We have given ourselves over, not for doing the work of military, not for doing the work of serious people like you'd expect from law enforcement and those who carry guns overseas. What we're seeing here on the screen, a ceremony at the Elite Army SOF school, so Special Operations Forces school, interrupted by a pornographic content. Wait, what you say? Yeah, it's on the screen right there. That was the actual scene that was shown. And what happened was the Army is apparently investigating, like, who in the hell was in charge of the live stream that allowed this Special Forces training change of command ceremony that happened on Thursday last week. How did they end up with somebody with a device in a part of the body that is not supposed to be an input, involved in self-care? I'm talking around this because it's disgusting. Yeah, that's what they broadcast out there. We're talking about the JFK School for Special Warfare, and it's at, I'm now called Fort Liberty, but always Fort Bragg to me in North Carolina. Apparently broadcasted out live to a Facebook group. They were doing a change of command, which is a regular moment where you have one commander handing off command to another. And during that show, they decided to do another show with what looks like a sort of darker skinned individual involved in some really, really gnarly stuff. The funny thing for those of us who served in the military is, do you remember how many times you were being briefed on sexual assault awareness and how they were always telling you to make sure that you report any sexual assaults and that they'll support you and that there's all counseling available? They now have to offer counseling services to anyone who may have seen this. because they could be traumatized by seeing whatever it is you're seeing on the screen right there. And yeah, if you haven't seen this, it is available on some smaller parts of social media, but you probably didn't hear this stuff. Apparently, this is not the first time that they've had some sexual controversies on stuff like this. Apparently, somebody also hacked their official Twitter account for Fort Bragg in 2020 and tweeted out a bunch of stuff of a sexual nature. Yeah, that's kind of prankish. I don't know if this is prank. I don't know if this is a hack. It does seem quite in line with our month right now. So it's hard for me to not think that there is some sort of, if you dance with the devil, you're going to end up getting kind of dirty, right? And that's what we're talking about, I think, in the case of this story. We'll keep an eye on it because I'd love to see whether or not they can blame it off. They've got their CID unit and their cyber investigations unit looking into it. And yes, many of you now also need trauma counseling because you have seen that picture, even the one that was partially redacted. It's pretty awful. So what else is going on in the world out there? Do we have other things that are happening? Yeah, we do. We've got Joe Biden in a place where he doesn't know what to do. And this is even CNN's analysis of it. Biden is alienating progressives yet again, but he may have no choice. So yet again is because he also pissed them off by standing with Israel, because why not? You always stand where the money is and the big time conflicts. Apparently Democrats just really desperately need some sort of war or conflict. But he's also had to make an announcement about the border. This is a totally unforced error, by the way. This is a situation that they basically have allowed millions of people into our country, which will change us forever, as my wife and I were talking about the other day. There's no way to estimate what the impact of the last, let's say, 2 years of immigration and illegals coming in. The weaponized asylum process, letting all these people come in, it's insane. But he's being so hammered on it because it affects negatively people at the bottom of the socioeconomic scale, which they like to think, Democrats like to think, are their firewall and the people that are going to vote for them. But why would they? Why would they when the policies are in direct conflict with what's good for them? So Joe Biden now has to decide, what do we do? Do we let 1 million people in every single month, or do we try to stop them and try to act like something, rule of law and that we actually have a country? And so he's trying to play this middle ground where he's going to limit the number of people when they trigger a certain number of asylum requests, either per day or per month, or per week rather, that they're going to, lock it down and then you're going to have to wait. So they're going to try to filter the number of people. They're just going to try to tighten up the holes. None of this stuff is going to solve it. And by the way, didn't we just hear this guy say, just give me the power, give me the authority, write the law? He was begging for it. Apparently he's had the executive order power all the time, and we know that because the minute he got into office, he reversed all of Trump's executive orders. This is a predictable consequence. The problem is that you've got a man that basically has no ability to get people excited. He has no policies that have been successful, and people are starting to recognize it. So what do you do when you're on the political left and you're trying to keep the loonies happy, which is the sort of the driving force? And in the meantime, you're slowly destroying all the people that you need to have vote for you. You hope that they don't notice, but they've noticed. So it's too late for him. He's also trying to shore up our contacts over in NATO. He's run over and he's doing a D-Day thing. Something kind of sad about watching him. There are 100-year-old military veterans who served and rolled onto the beach at Normandy that are in better shape right now than Joe Biden, coming up on the 80th anniversary of D-Day tomorrow. He's a complete, frail, weak, fragile embarrassment, and he's still going to go over there. And the reason why is because they need to have some sort of military conflict. This is the kind of thing that I've been talking about in the background here, so we'll just this is speculation, but I would not be shocked if Biden desperately tries to get us into some sort of entanglement with Russia, which will give the green light for his buddies over in China to walk right into Taiwan, and we'll have plausible deniability because we're going to be tied up dealing with whatever's going on in Ukraine. You guys saw that the other day too. I just saw it in the chat, but yeah, they're firing missiles, U.S.-based missiles or U.S. Created missiles into Russia. So that's going to ramp things up. And if they can just get us actively involved in a physical conflict in Europe where we can trigger the NATO things, it'll be way harder to pull out of NATO, even if he loses. And anything that he can do to distract from his terrible polling and his really, really bad policies. His policies are everywhere. They're very obvious. They're taking 75-year-old ladies who are convicted of FACE Act violations and throwing them in jail for 2 years, with the judge cruelly and snidely saying, I hope that you make it through. Since life is part of your religion, I hope you live. Truly disgusting stuff. All this stuff only happens when you are dealing with I would call it a post-constitutional America. And we're seeing it in real time. We're seeing it fall apart. And how did it all get kind of kicked? How did it really get ramped up? It seems like Anthony Fauci must be the person that you point at as one of those types who showed continuity. He was under 7 different presidents from what I read the other day. He has absolutely no sense of humility in this. The pride, it's a good month for it. The pride, the diabolical pride that he shows when he goes out and talks in front of Congress. It's nauseating. I got a couple of little clips here that I want to play just so we all kind of remember what it is we're talking about. Remember, they talked Donald Trump into shutting down our entire economy. If you guys watched the AMRAD podcast the other day, you saw, and I think Steve's take on it is very interesting, that a lot of people were just like, I'm bored with my life. I don't have any challenges. Let's do post-apocalyptic zombie day for a couple of weeks. People turned over and surrendered the keys to this country. And they did it. They did everything they could do simply because they didn't want Donald Trump to stay in office. He wasn't even that effective, if we're being really true. But it was a perfect opportunity for them to go and cram all of this stuff down. This is totalitarianism. And that's where it came from. So here you go. Why not have this congressman? I had his bio up earlier, but actually I think I've got it here. Let me see if I got it. I can throw it. There it is. This is Congressman Robert. Is it Robert Garcia? I think so. He immigrated from Peru to the United States as a child. He became a citizen in his 20s. We've talked about him before. He's a so-called lifelong educator, even though he's like not even, I don't even think he's my age. And he's also the first openly LGBTQ foreign-born member of Congress. So that's good. So we have a gay foreigner who became an American citizen who is going to praise Fauci. I think this actually symbolizes exactly where we're at in this country at a level that I can not do on my own. So thanks to Garcia, he's a Democrat out of California. He's going to tell you that thank God that we had those vaccines. Anybody here regret not getting them? Anybody who didn't get them? Are you sitting there wishing you had? Probably not. But we're going to make the argument that you also killed people. So here we go. This is what a historic shit show our members of Congress are. Non-serious.
It's proven that. And do you also agree that it saved hundreds of thousands and possibly millions of lives in America and across the world?
That is absolutely correct. And it's very clear that it's saved millions of lives here and throughout the world. The Europeans have done the same studies that we have, and the data are incontrovertible that they save lives.
Sir, and do you think the American public should listen to America's brightest and best doctors and scientists, or instead listen to podcasters, conspiracy theorists, and unhinged Facebook memes?
No, listening to people who you just described is going to do nothing but harm people because they will deprive themselves of life-saving interventions, which has happened. And you know, some have done studies. Peter Hotez has done an analysis of this and shows that in people who refuse to get vaccinated for any variety of reasons, probably responsible for an additional 200,000 to 300,000 deaths, and this has proven that.
Yep, that's it, guys. 200,000 to 300,000 deaths have happened. And why do they happen? Because of podcasters, conspiracy theorists, and Facebook memers. I got to be honest with you. That's who I'm siding with over that guy. He just cited Peter Hotez, who's a propagandist and completely full of it, who's been shown that his position basically moved based on whatever anyone was telling him it had to be. He was a quote-unquote expert for hire. So that's fun. At least the Republicans stepped up and did a little bit hard. They did thank Fauci for his service and for his vaccine and some other things like that. So that's really good. But at least a couple of people tried to hold his feet to the fire, showing that this was never about public health. It was always about pressure, and it was about compliance. When I was at the FBI, I referred to it as a compliance purge, and that's what we're talking about here. And Fauci said it in his own words, which is nice that we have that recorded.
To live their lives so they'd feel pressured to get vaccinated. Could we run the audio clip on that, please?
You think
think can be done about it? I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and that's not what I was referring to.
Well, in reference to making it hard for people to get education, traveling, working, I'd say it very much was in context. And I take great offense to this. Miss Allison Williams testified before this committee about losing her job because she sought an exemption for ESPN's vaccine mandate, which came from recommendations from bureaucrats like yourself. She and her husband were actively working with a fertility expert, a physician, on how to get pregnant, and agreed with the premise that she was young, healthy, wanted to get pregnant, and shouldn't get the vaccination for medical purposes. But she was fired because you made it hard, just like you said in your statement, because you didn't want to make sure that the ideological bullshit got in the way of her working, of living her life, of making a medical decision with her healthcare professional. I think America should take great offense to this.
I think America should have that man hanging or crushed under a tank. I'm sort of okay with that idea too. Are we allowed to wish that kind of thing on people? Crushed under a tank seems like the right answer. If we're going to just have totalitarian lunacy, then let's take out some of the figureheads that really need to be reminded that humility happens, that your pride will be your fall. It's pretty incredible. I experienced it. I know a lot of you did. It's so hard to actually put ourselves back 3-4 years ago when those things were happening and they were telling us, you must do this thing. And we said, no. He just said people are going to lose all their ideological bullshit. That's Dr. Fauci's words. A lot of you didn't. That's what they found out. They found out that there's a cadre of Americans that actually believe that, you know what, the more that you tell me that I've got to do something, the less that I'm going to do it. There's nothing more American than saying F you and raising the flag up, you know, that said, we'll take whatever punishment you have. And we're still standing. I know I am. Speaking of raising up sort of a flag, something kind of powerful, I got a great show, a great video rather, of people who decided that they're done with the pride flag game and they want to throw this thing up. This is a massive FU, but it's done with love. This is the Sacred Heart of Jesus flag that is being raised. If you guys watch this, the music is a little bit over the top. Yeah, I get it, but this is a really big flag. This is exactly how you push back. You do so by being proud of something that's actually worth being proud of. Where'd my video go? Huge flag, number 10. Yeah, not all heroes are wearing capes. Those are folks that run a waste management company called Bavarian Waste Management. You guys can find that video on Catholic Vote's Twitter page. It's actually one of the lead things on there. How awesome was that? And they've got this huge line of semis out there with this massive banner that says "Pray the Rosary," which is what my kids were doing before I started rolling live today. I don't know. I just think that's the big push. I don't want to give it away, but check out tomorrow's Between the Lines on the Catholic Vote channel, and you guys will see my take on all this stuff. It's going to take a little while. We didn't get here overnight, did we? This has been slipping for quite a long time. So the push is going to have to be continuous, and it's going to be lengthy, and it took us 40, 80, maybe 100 years to get here. It's very likely that it's going to take us an equally long amount of time to get there. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see pushes against guys like Fauci and cover jobs. This is my favorite, though. My favorite is when you get a group like the Los Angeles Times. They keep discrediting themselves, and I'm going to share with you a real-time debunking of how stupid this column was. This column is written, it says that the anatomy of a smear, Fauci faces the House GOP clown show about COVID. And so what do? They go and they defend their guy. Their guy is Fauci. So then they give his qualifications. This is what's called an argument to authority in logical terms. In other words, they're going to say how great his credentials are, so he can't be questioned. They said, here's what we know about Dr. Anthony S. Fauci. As a staff member at the National Institutes for Health for 54 years and director of the National Institutes for Allergy and Infectious Diseases for 38, he was a key figure in the development of therapies for HIV. Yeah, didn't he kill off some kids in New York over that too? And ensured that funding was available in the search for the cure. Under his leadership, NIAID, I can't get these letters together. NIAID invested billions in research that resulted in the development of mRNA technology, which in turn resulted in the development of the COVID vaccine in record time, saving millions of lives. That's speculative and doesn't actually, nobody can say that. I love the idea that you're going to claim that millions of lives were saved, but you can't actually prove it. Under Fauci, they also sponsored research for the treatment of pandemic flu and Ebola and Zika. And when COVID struck, he was tapped as the top advisor for then President Trump, one of 7 presidents who was advised during his career from Reagan to Biden, blah, 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 blah. He's revered in communities. Is he though? Because we've actually seen the real Anthony Fauci, which was written by RFK, and that is not the case. He's revered in the communities of immunologists and virologists, even after Trump sidelined him because he was speaking the truth, so on and so forth. That's the best. Okay. Then they go on and they attack the conservatives for a little bit, as best they can. And my favorite is right here in this paragraph, which I'm going to show you, and the reason why I have Chris Wray's picture on the screen as well. As I've reported many times, this is the author of the piece. According to reputable scientists who've studied the origins of COVID, scientific evidence suggests that it's overwhelmingly more likely that COVID reached humans the same way most viruses do, as spillover from wildlife, in this case, via a thriving trade in China in animals susceptible to the virus. The Los Angeles Times published a column in June of 2024 making the claim that COVID popped up naturally. They are doing the wet market. They're doing the someone ate a bat story this week. Yeah, I'm serious. And then all you got to do is go to February 28th of 2023. That's well over a year ago. And I'm quoting NPR. Why NPR? Because NPR is a garbage publication. They have their Washington desk saying that Chris Wray publicly comments on the FBI's position on COVID's origins, adding political fire. Oh, no, he told Fox News that the Bureau's ongoing investigation of the COVID origins suggests the virus was unreleased after a potential lab leak in Wuhan, China. Then they claim that the FBI's assessment is not the consensus among intelligence and scientific communities. Spoiler alert, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I knew guys that were on the COVID origin investigation for the CIA, and they knew right away, like all of you knew, because it was illogical that somebody ate a bat and threw this out into the world. Incredibly, the Los Angeles Times is going to keep doing that cover. It's an uphill battle every single step of the way, folks. It's going to continue to be an uphill battle. And it's going to be because of stupidity like this. Not just that stupid. There's actually more stupid in the world. Some of the best stupid in the world today. Coming off Fox News. How about this one? You can't make this stuff up. A dead man running. Deceased congressman wins election in New Jersey. He died at 65 years old. I don't know why that's so funny to me. A congressman had a fatal heart attack in April, so that's why he was elected to Congress. Do we really think that New Jersey is a place that makes any bit of sense? Do we think that there's any possibility that they talk about dead people voting? Forget about dead people voting. How about dead people getting elected? They said many elections are marked by reports of dead people voting, but dead persons being elected is far less common. But that's exactly what happened on Tuesday when Representative Donald Payne Jr. won a primary in New Jersey's 10th congressional district. Nobody was running against him. So then what? They don't have a congressperson? How does this even happen in this country? How is this happening in an age of the internet? You could see this happening at a time when people were working on paper and newspapers was the only way that we were going to be getting information out. Yes, he does look an awful lot like Alvin Bragg, doesn't he? Maybe coming from the same tribe of clowns. It's right across the river, right? He wasn't challenged. Here's my other favorite thing about this guy. It's not surprising that he wasn't challenged in the primary. Why was he not challenged? Because he's held that seat since 2012. A lot of Congress people hold their seats for a long time. And his father occupied the seat for the 20 years before that. He succeeded his father when his father died in office. America is not a serious place when this is the case. Even in a stupid place like New Jersey. We are a comedy show. We are the idiocracy. When a guy replaces his dad who died in office and then dies in office himself and still wins the election. Americans, what are you doing? Who's pulling the lever for this stuff? Who showed up and didn't check to make sure that their congressperson that they were going to vote for was actually alive? You'd think that would be like kind of a big deal. And then why is that person allowed to be on the ballot? I'm fairly confident that that does not meet the requirements. Although I don't know that there's something specifically that says that a requirement of a congressperson is that they be alive. I'm fairly confident that that is assumed. And I'm pretty sure that we could have a court rule in favor of that. What a weird time to be alive. It's just dumb. Meanwhile, our social media will gaslight us with all the things, whether it be telling us that Trump is a dictator and that he's going to stay in forever without any evidence, that he's begging to go to jail like Comey was, right? All of this sort of nonsense, that Fauci is a really good guy and that somebody ate a bat. This is the thing that I found most troubling. This is on the AP, which is supposed to be, they claim that they're a nonpartisan group. They're obviously very partisan. They're worried about homeschooling and they're worried about kids that are not going to play the game. This is a story that comes out. It says life as a teen without social media isn't easy. These families are navigating teen or adolescence offline. And they have a whole story about how there's a couple of girls that have chosen not to be involved in social media and that they're excelling. They read books. They have excellent grades. They're getting accepted to college. They're doing all the things that all of us on the left and the right used to agree was like sort of the thing we wanted. But they're not being part of the social media thing. And so they want you to know, the AP wants you to know, if you don't engage in social media, it's probably going to cost you. It's going to cost you some friendships. You're going to miss student government meetings that are arranged on Snapchat, and you won't be able to be part of the Model UN team, which communicates on social media. And so your scheduling will be all screwed up, and you might even not even be able to go to your Bible study because the Bible study is also using Instagram to communicate. They're talking about a girl who's in Connecticut, another girl who's a high school senior in Brooklyn. They describe all of them as straight A's, strings of college acceptances, accomplished dancers. This one girl has just made a Broadway debut. This is the best statement, though, and this is what we should actually lean into. They buried it deep into the article. They said that being someone who was not on social media in some ways made her an outsider. And it used to hurt, but now she feels like it's a badge of honor. I think we need to be encouraging this kind of behavior. Rejection of this. We have so much technology that's available to us right now that we don't even know how to use it. And rather than make us more connected and more social and learn more things about what's going on in the world, it's making people more angry and more disappointed and less socially capable. I mean, we have social media, but it is the most antisocial place in the world. Some of the attacks that people will lob on me or Garrett or Marcus Allen, it's one of the great reasons for him not being on any of those platforms. They're atrocious and they're massively insulting. Not to us per se as men, mostly to our families. You're claiming that we're going to lie about something simply for what? For clout? For clicks? You're talking about guys like me and Steve and Garrett and Marcus Allen who never used social media until we had to do it for a living. I think these kids are doing the right thing. Until you're a grown-up and you know who you are and what's real and what's not real, I am so behind not having your teens get engaged with this. They think it's real. And that's the thing we keep finding out. A lot of people think social media is real. You could say the nastiest things. You can quote unquote crucify anybody on social media. It turns out your friends probably won't even know about it. Occasionally my buddies and my neighbors that are in my neighborhood, when I'm out working on something, they'll come over and they'll be like, "Oh, saw you're mixing it up over on Twitter." Does it bother them? No, it doesn't. Why not? Because they're real people. Teenagers don't have that processing capability. They have conflated the thought that, oh, this thing that is happening online is also real. But it's not. It's not going to stop them from getting a job in real life as long as they stay away from it. In fact, it's going to make them a better employee. Do you realize that most companies now will search for social media history on you before they would consider hiring you on? It's definitely true for government jobs. You have to disclose that stuff for security clearances. Who needs that kind of that tail as a young person? There's plenty of things that are, you're going to do dumb as a kid that are going to create a paper record. You don't need to go create a digital record for yourself. And I recommend it. I think we should be standing behind all of that. All right. Let me do a quick little plug here for my buddies over at the Mad Hat Jerky group. They're doing a Father's Day special right now, so you guys can find that. If you go to madhatjerky.com/Kyle, I think they've got a promo code over there. I think it's Father30. It might be 30 Father, something like that. But check out their Father's Day promo, and what you'll see is you can get 30% off, which is a pretty solid deal. Make sure you go through our little link here, madhatjerky.com/Kyle, so they know that we sent you over, and then go get that 30% off for the Dad's Day box if you want to send your dad some jerky. My dad apparently doesn't like jerky. My mother does, though. Who knew? It's not for everybody, but if you are in the market for a really good snack it's tender and it's chewy, but it's not like stringy. I don't know how else to explain it. Like their stuff is very good. They use really, really good meat, and you can get the USDA Prime, which is my choice. It's called Gourmet Flank. Check out those. Black Truffle, #1. Recommend it by all means. And then after the Father's Day time, use our promo code KYLE. But until then, see what they've got on their website. They've got a special deal going. I just saw it the other day. Gonna go ahead and say that. All right, I've got a palate cleanser for you. I've got a 5-star review. Let me see if there was any other story that I wanted to cover down on. Nope. I think that's all of it, folks. We made it back into the saddle here. Are we running at 80%? Yeah, we are. But we're still going to do this. All right. This guy, Andrew Schultz, is my new favorite comedian. If you guys know anything about my love for stand-up, it's my favorite. I absolutely love stand-up comedians who have the balls to say what needs to be said. And you remember everybody was taking shots at Trump for quite a long time. This guy, he pushes back. And he doesn't make any apologies. He says some really, really unsettling things. He's the same guy that was talking about when they invade Taiwan that we need to have the open them up. The round eyes, full hearts can't lose. And so here he is talking about Trump merch. Look, campaigns are about contrast. They're about looking at one person versus the other and how do they line up. The guy's got a point. You don't even have to like him to know that there's a point about the merch. Check this out.
Be honest with me right now. Do any of you love Joe Biden? No. Biden ain't got no merch. Like, that's how I judge presidents now, bro. Can you move merch or can you not? Because Trump had merch, bro. That MAGA hat was iconic. Bro, that was white people's teardrop tattoo. That's what that was. You saw a white dude with the hat, you were like, yeah! He don't give a fuck! In public, dog. In public, the hat is the last thing you put on your body before you leave the house. It's so easy not to wear it. But some people looked at that hat like, how difficult do I want my day to be? Fuck it, I choose violence today.
I do choose that almost every day as well. Go out in the world, wear an FBI badge upside down, and people give you a weird look. It's pretty righteous. Yeah, you got to reflect it. We got to laugh about some things because otherwise we'll just be crying here. And just in perfect timing here, look what I found. We got a 5-star review coming from JDKSKTN. I don't know what that stands for. I couldn't even make a word out of that if I wanted to. JD says, the real reason the FBI wanted you gone. 5 stars. I can only assume the FBI wanted you gone because you have a sense of humor that is absolutely on point. Great stuff all around. It has been alleged before, JD. That has been an allegation made by Ronnie Coleman of the Harmeet Dillon law firm, actually. He said, there's no way I was an FBI agent. I am far too glib. If you guys haven't seen that interview, it's actually one of the most fun I've done. Might be onto something there. y'all. I do appreciate you guys joining us for the day. We'll be back here again tomorrow. Don't forget to give us a like, give us a follow if you're not. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you could do so on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. And if you want to send us questions, comments, snarky and sarcastic remarks, you can do so at the contact me. It's kyleseraphin.com. That's the main webpage. And guys, join us there if you like. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow morning. I look forward to it and hopefully feeling 85%. Say your prayers for it. We really appreciate all that. And I will see you guys in the morning.
Thanks for listening to the Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.